going to hand you over to Mike.
Okay, thanks, Jackie. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. My name is Mike Court, and I'm the Compliance Officer for International Trade Matters, and we're here to assist the Chambers with their international trade. And today we're going to talk about authorised economic operator and how it can affect your business going forward. So, Jackie, I wonder if you could load up the presentation, please. That would be fantastic. Just flash up on the opening screen. There we go. I'm a full member of the Institute of Export in this country. My qualifications come from over 30 years in international trade, and we cover all sorts of events with international trade. As you can see on the screen in front of you, we're a team of experts that have come together under the International Trade Matters banner to support all events dealing with international trade. And we're here to support SMEs and micro businesses going forward. We also have great dealings with larger, more complex companies in all avenues of international trade. We offer advice, guidance and consultation on those matters. Thanks, Jackie. So the authorised economic operator, as we know us, there has never been an ever increasing focus on the way in which international supply chains work across the world. And the businesses in the UK are no exception to this. Even though we have now separated from the European Union, it doesn't diminish the issues of securing the international borders and securing your supply chain. And again, customs has a greater significance and costs implications to your business if we get it wrong. So the mechanism to avoid some of these issues globally is the authorized economic operator platform, which is an accreditation issued by HM Revenue and Customs. Even though it's not mandatory, it sends an important message to the UK powers to be, HMRC, and overseas parties that you take your position within the supply chain very, very seriously. And it signifies that your role within the supply chain is secured at all times. So you can also facilitate trade movements by providing quicker access to simplified customs procedures. Now, when we talk about simplified customs procedures, we're talking about running international warehouses. We're looking at free trade zones. We can have inward and outward processing. We can also have return goods procedures. So these significant simplified customs processes are here to help UK businesses reduce their customs burden and the amount of money, VAT and import duty, they pay on those products. Again, if AEO is appointed to your product, your products will receive potentially quicker clearance at UK ports in the event of hold-ups with shipping, as we've seen over the last few months. And again, it is a competitive advantage to you as a UK business when dealing with overseas traders if you are registered as an AEO operative, because the business you're dealing with knows that you are secure and that your functionality with HMRC and other customs organizations are approved, and you know exactly what you're doing. So the burden of risk is reduced. And more companies, especially from our European neighbours, are asking UK companies for their authorised economic operator registration number. So this is to make sure that their goods sending to you are done and can be passed through the port system here in the UK and, of course, on the continent in a speedy and timely manner. Thanks, Jackie. The AEO concept is based on the World Customs Organization, or the WCO, framework of standards to secure and facilitate global trade. Now, this has been around for some considerable time, and it's known in the industry as the SAFE framework, which seeks to strengthen end-to-end security of international supply chains. So in a nutshell, you as a UK business know exactly what your client's going to do overseas for you. You know how the goods are moving from A to B, and you know exactly how to deal with your freight when it arrives at the UK port. It's all about making sure the goods can travel in a safe and secure manner. So the AEO status is granted by a customs administration. Again, it's not specifically UK businesses, but EU companies can also apply. And if you are a EU registered organization, again, with a UK and an EU registration, you will have to be authorized in both the UK and in Europe. So once you have your AEO accreditation, you'll be a mutually recognized, you'll be able to take advantage of the mutually recognized agreement that exists between the UK and Europe, and also such countries as the USA, Australia, for example. And with all the free trade agreements the UK are signing, the likes of Japan and Canada, for example, all understand and recognize a UK AEO accreditation. And the AEO is an internationally recognized quality mark, and it indicates that businesses' role in the international supply chain is as secure as possible. Thanks, Jackie. So the AEO status of business is recognized by other countries, as we've just discussed, under the mutually recognized agreement. Now, as you know, the UK at the moment is going forward and signing up lots and lots of free trade agreements. There's even trade agreements now with different states within the United States of America that makes international trade even more exciting. What we need to know is if you're moving goods into one of those states, do they have a AEO or an equivalent? The UK objective is to reach a multi-recognition status with all countries with similar schemes and incorporate those into any trade agreements. So, for instance, when you look at the EU-UK Trade and Cooperation Agreement, there is a paragraph dedicated to AEO status and the mutual recognition of those statuses. Mutual recognition means customs administrations agree to recognize accreditations from each under each other's jurisdiction and provide reciprocal benefits to AEOs in such jurisdictions. What are some of those benefits? Well, first and foremost, they give you access to customs simplified processes, as I declared earlier. Other things that they can do is the reduction in customs audits, either desktop audit or physical audit to your premises. And of course, when you go through the AEO process, it tightens up all your internal processes. It is part of the ongoing review of those processes, and that includes security not only of your warehousing, but your transport, your IT systems, personnel, etc., etc. And they all come under the AEO timeframe. Thank you, Jackie. So we have two channels we can pursue if you're going to go for AEO operative, and they are twofold. One is AEOC, which stands for Authorized Economic Operator Customs Facilities Only, or AEOS for security, which includes customs and the physical security of your premises. The AEO status is not mandatory, and I have to say this straight from the front. UK businesses have been very reluctant to take up AEO because they perceived it as being a European directive. When it first was introduced into the UK industry, it was foreseen that multi-page questionnaires in language that was unfamiliar to UK businesses was a burden. I can reassure you here and now that after we have left the European Union and we've rewritten the authorized economic operator scope, so to speak, the questionnaire paper is far easier to complete and obtain AEO. Yes, there is a delay with the application process, as is common at the moment with lots of customs officers still working from home post COVID-19. We have a delay, but customs have promised us that when an application is in, once all the paperwork has been received by HMRC, they will take 120 days to make a decision on whether or not you will reach the required spec. So it is possible for a business to apply for both AEOC and AEOS. Why would they do that? I don't know, because it will all depend on a review of your current processes and what position you have within the supply chain. Thanks, Jackie. So the AEO status enhances the reputation of your business. Now, being a UK business, we need all the competitive advantage we can possibly gain. And by looking at AEO and seeing if your business can attain the accreditation is one of those kite marks a business is looking for to give you a competitive advantage over your opposition, as it signals the higher standards to which you as a business operate. Benefiting from a faster application process, as I said, yes, it is a faster application process, and the application form is a lot smoother than it was previously, but we still have this slight hiccup with customs officers not working to full capacity. Duty reliefs are available sooner than you think, because you don't have to wait for AEO accreditation to sign up for and achieve some of these duty relief benefits that are on offer from HMRC. The likes of inward and outward processing, the likes of running a customs warehouse, or returns goods procedure. All those can be applied for and obtained whilst the AEO is ongoing. Each of these benefits will help to keep supply chains flowing, and now that we're in the post-Brexit environment. Thanks, Jackie. So all British traders that hold an AEO certificate have a clear advantage when exporting through mutually recognised agreements. And I can't emphasise that enough for you, because of the way that the UK has set up its store with international trade and the reliance on free trade agreements. The mutually recognition agreement process is going to be thrust into your mindset going forward from 2023 onwards. It's not going to go away, so the sooner we embrace it and start with our AEO applications, the better it will be for all of us. The AEO certification will become even more desirable as an internationally recognized tool to keep cargo moving across borders. And both the EU and the UK have recognized each other's schemes, as well as the types of USA, Japan, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. All those people who have signed trade agreements with the UK have a mutually recognition agreement within their free trade agreements. The overall process of applying for AEO status will boost the profile of customs compliance within your company culture. And I can again say that most sincerely, that I go to visit companies who want to go through AEO, and we start mapping out and looking at their internal compliance, and all of a sudden lots of things drop out that they didn't realize, and they can take remedial action and make for a simpler process in the turn. So again, it helps the business with their competitive advantage by taking out some processes that aren't required. And a company can use its status as a holder of AEO to gain a competitive advantage. We have seen a fourfold increase in clients when they're asking a client in the UK to quote for delivery of product. And we're also finding on there when the companies are coming for those quotes there, please confirm if you are AEO status and send us your AEO authorization, because they know they're dealing with a trusted client. Thank you very much, Jackie. Customs simplifications, fewer physical and documentary based controls. As you well know, the days when customs officers used to come and knock on your door at 6 o'clock in the morning and inspect your documents have long gone. The process now is a little bit more technical, where they will send you a requirement to look at certain documents for certain imports and exports. And from there, they will make an assessment on your business and how much further those physical inspection of your premises or your documents or your goods can be or will be implemented. And it's of course a document-based control, making sure your documents are fit for purpose. The priority treatment of consignments if selected for controls, including the ability to choose the location at which HMRC applies the customs controls, i.e. where can they inspect your goods. Now, as you were well aware, with the congestion at UK road ports, Dover and Felixstowe, etc., we see it in the newspapers all the time. Some of these checks and controls can be away from the border area. So they could be at a border control point that are being built at the moment, or indeed at your facility, if given the customs give you enough notice that you have to segregate those goods until customs have come and visited you and have inspected the goods. And of course, easier admittance to customs simplifications and authorizations. And of course, with AEO, all the customs guarantees that you have to have in place for some of the processes like customs warehouse, for instance, or inward processing or duty deferment counts, all those charges are not required if you hold an AEO status. So that is, again, a competitive advantage over me as a business who haven't got any of those in place. I haven't got AEO, and I'll have to pay customs for each time I want to set up a duty deferment account, run an inward processing or an outward processing process, or indeed a customs warehouse. Thanks, Jackie. AEO status businesses which meet the security and safety criteria is a secure and safe partner in the supply chain. What we do, or what happens when you look at an AEO application, you have to do a thorough audit of the physical business that you are at, your business premises, including access roads in, security gates, CCTV cameras, control of your loading and unloading bays, which partners are involved in your supply chain, etc., etc. The AEO status continuously does everything in its power to reduce threats in the international supply chain. So you're forever reviewing the processes, just like you would for an ISO 9001, etc. It is exactly the same process for AEO. And again, going forward, this should result in improved relations with business partners, customs administration, and most importantly, the existing and new customers, because we in the UK have now got to secure our place in the international supply chain as a known and competent importer or exporter. Thanks, Jackie. So under the Union Customs Code, a waiver for the new financial guarantee requirements for suspended duty is granted to AEO certified businesses. That's in Europe. In the UK, if you achieve AEO, the same waivers for financial guarantees is available to us here in the UK. Non-AEO businesses are required to secure financial guarantees, and they come at a significant cost to the business. And with a level of guarantee required potentially set to increase due to additional duty payments on movement of goods, this is potentially a very valuable benefit for importers and for exporters to and from the UK. Please don't worry too much about the left-hand block on this slide under the Union Customs Code. We put that in there because if a business is operating with a EU subsidiary, the EU subsidiary will have to follow the Union Customs Code, where the UK company will follow the Cross-Border and Trade Act of 2018. So that is why we put there. So they have simultaneously the same thing, mutual recognition, but the European subsidiary would need an AEO certificate in that particular country, and the UK parent would need a UK AEO authorization. Thanks, Jackie. So any business can apply for AEO status irrespective of its size, which is really good news. So here are the things that you need to do. Make sure, first of all, your business is established in the UK. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that you are recorded under the company's house and you've got a company's registration number. You hold an economic operator registration and identification number, your URI. Again, you don't have to be VAT registered to have a URI. So small businesses can be an authorized economic operator. You have to show you are involved in customs activities. By that means that the URI number you're using has been triggered onto HMRC by imports or exports. And of course, that number is recorded in their customs system and are available to review with the customs data entries on CDS or the old chief system. You form part of an international supply chain. You're actively involved in customs operation, both at home and internationally. What do we mean by that? Is that you complete customs declarations or export declarations. Now, it may not be you doing those declarations. You may get Jackie at Hampshire Chamber to do your customs docs for you, or you might be using a nominated international customs agent, or of course your freight forwarders. But there again lies an issue, because they are operating for and on your behalf. It's always the importer and exporter that bears the brunt of HMRC when it comes to customs operations and procedures. And you have to have a good history of compliance with the government authorities. And they will look back at all your business transactions to make sure you are compliant. And of course, they will give you the opportunity, if you haven't been to compliant, to explain what those issues were and what steps you have taken to make them correct. Your application can include a broad range of businesses, for example, manufacturers, importers, exporters, freight forwarders, warehouse keepers, and customs agents and carriers. We're doing some work at the moment, International Trade Matters, with a nominated freight forwarder to look through and review their processes to make sure that they are fit for purpose and they can supply the issues that you as a manufacturer or a warehouse operative are expected of them. Therefore, paving the way for them to apply for AEO. And at present, there is an increase in applications from a wide variety of business here in the UK, which is really good news, and they cover multiple sectors. Thanks, Jackie. Yeah. So make sure you have your finances in order. Make sure your accounts are lodged with Companies House. And again, that's quite easy to review those. When part of your application, they'll just pull down 3 years of past accounts lodged with Companies House. Make sure you have some written shipping procedures. If you're not sure what procedures you have in-house, this is where your AEO authorization process will help you to identify those shortcomings, where you can put procedures in place to cover those functions. Compliance with customs requirements. Again, looking at how you interact with your customs agents and HMRC to see who does what, and to streamline and improve the process. And of course, lastly but not least, the quality management, including document procedures and your knowledge of customs processes within the business itself. If a company applies for AEOS, which is the security, the assessment will include the site security check, HR vetting, and supply chain security measures. So it's all embracing. And I will say this now, if companies have achieved or already achieved the equivalent to ISO 9001 standards, you're halfway towards attaining AEO status. And the status that verifies a company's secure systems around the movement of goods across international borders. Thanks, Jackie. We've got a little diagram here of how long does the AEO application process takes. Well, the AEO accreditation application process takes the time and can be overwhelming for some businesses. Yes, you can do it yourself, but we'll be more on that in a little bit later, but it can be overbearing for one person. Application preparation and submission typically takes between 3 and 12 months to come and do site visits, draw up an action plan, find out where your shortfalls are, and complete the application. But once it's completed in with HMRC, they have dedicated 120 days for customs to assess your submission, including their dreaded site visit from HMRC. There's nothing to be worried about. If you've done your preparations in time and got all your I's dotted and T's crossed, that should be a bit of a breeze. And then once the AEO status is achieved, it is indefinite. But your firm will be reassessed every 3 years through an on-site visit from HMRC or a desktop audit. So again, they're keeping on top of you, making sure you're doing what you say you're doing in the application. Thanks, Jackie. So the application process can be summarized as follows. Prior to submitting the AEO application, you need to work out your cost benefit to your business. You need to obtain senior management buy-in and sign off for the actual process. This is a key step in anything. It has to be discussed and minuted at board level to make sure that the senior management buy in and sign off on the application. You'll need to develop an AEO project plan. Then you undertake a self-assessment, establish and identify your gaps if there are any, input your remedies and compliance gaps that you've found, document all of the relevant processes to the standard which is accepted by customs, and then get yourself ready for the assessment. Once these steps have been completed, the AEO status application pack can be submitted to HMRC. And please don't be phased if it takes them an eternity to come back to you. It's a different ball of fish. If they want something from you, you've got to act almost instantly. With this, it takes a bit of time. Thanks, Jackie. What are the businesses that have granted AEO status, or once your business have been granted AEO status, customs administrations will review the AEO status periodically. So that's every 3 years, to ensure that the relevant conditions and criteria continue to be met. You may have high turnover in staff. You may have senior management leaving. Even the business is amalgamated, or you've had a takeover, or you've adopted another business into your systems. These things all need to be updated on a regular basis. And it is therefore critical for the UK business to ensure that it remains AEO status compliant after obtaining your approval. If customs aren't satisfied, they can remove your status or even suspend that status until you've taken the corrective measures. So stay up to date and informed of changes to customs legislation. Sign up for the Hampshire Chamber of Commerce or connect to International Trade Matters week or monthly newsletter to stay abreast of all updates. Regularly update the internal policies and procedures as required. Communicate to HMRC any changes in the business's details. Be proactive when disclosing errors to HMRC. Get in there early. Make sure your staff receive the appropriate training, and there's lots of training courses that the local Chamber of Commerce can provide on international trade. Undertake AEO status compliance reviews. As I said, we would do that once a year. And business must self-monitor their operations. Thanks, Jackie. Counting the costs of not being AEO. Gaining AEO status is not mandatory. It's a commercial decision. A business will need to take once the cost of AEO must be taken into consideration. The loss of business, the more compliant issues you have with HMRC, the times taken to carry out those reviews. Within the AEO status, the requirement for payment of guarantees can introduce significant costs to the business. As I've explained before, inward and outward processing, customs warehouse, duty deferment accounts all require a customs guarantee. If you have AEO status, that guarantee has diminished. Commercial banks will provide guarantees, but they may also take security in the form of cash deposits or by a reduction in lending facilities if you're not AEO. The absence of AEO status, this is likely to mean a guarantee requires and cost will be increased for your customs processes. And up to 180,000 businesses are being caught in customs regimes for the first time since we've left the EU. And commercial banks may become increasingly reluctant to provide potential very high amounts of guarantees. And we've seen that over the last few months where it has been difficult for some businesses even to get a guarantee for setting up duty deferment accounts and inward and outward processing. And we expect to see their charges increase, as well everything else has increased this year, and perhaps the introduction of new customs related risk assessments criteria being applied to guarantees. So if you're going through the AEO process, these guarantees will disappear. It is quite possible that it will become increasingly difficult and more costly for non-EU status businesses to obtain these guarantees and to make use of simplified or special customs procedures. Less competitive advantage against your competitors. Thanks, Jackie. What would it cost? Well, the cost to you as a business, if you were trying to do this yourself, would be nothing. However, it always comes with a however. Do you have enough skills and time to undertake the AEO audit process? Do you have enough skill and knowledge to create the required customs procedures required under AEO? And does your staff have enough training for that event? Thanks, Jackie. Insufficient responses on the initial application form. This is reasons why the AEO can be rejected by customs. A lack of evidence during the assessment stage, and this is what happens normally where the evidence is missing. General lack of understanding of the criteria that is expected, a comprehensive understanding of UK customs legislation and customs entry auditing. This bullet point 2 on this slide is critical because lots of UK businesses have outsourced a lot of their customs activities to the likes of freight forwarders, customs agents, even Hampshire Customs, Chamber of Commerce Customs. We've outsourced that where the lack of understanding on UK customs legislation and customs entries is lacking within the business. And fortunately for you guys and for Hampshire Chamber of Commerce, international trade matters have a proven track record of project management on AEO applications and up to their successful outcome. So again, you're talking to the right people with the right amount of knowledge. Thanks, Jackie. So our AEO services and support include cost benefit analysis for your business, development of your AEO plan, getting a AEO gap review and support with self-assessments of your products and your facilities, your remediation of gap identifications, assistance with writing up or updating processes and procedures you already have, a readiness assessment, completion and submission of your AEO application pack, liaise with HMRC, designing and implementing a monitoring program, that is your internal audit, and your AEO and customs legislation and administrative update services. All those are available through International Trade Matters. Thanks, Jackie. That comes to the conclusion of the actual formal presentation. So I'm going to pass back to Jackie now. Thanks, Jackie.